Having one of the longest and most interesting careers, 2022 was a year for Pusha T, who finally achieved his first ever #1 album on the Billboard chart. Pusha T is an American rapper, songwriter, and record executive. After first making a huge impression as one half of Clipse, Pusha T's solo career came after years of honing his lyrical skills and grinding the music industry. The hip-hop duo Clipse was active from the mid-90s to the late 2000s, and after Pusha T reached legendary status in a lengthy run with Clipse, the rapper signed for Good Music in 2010 and took his career to a new level. Welcome back. In today's video, we will take a look at the intriguing journey of a lyrical mastermind, from his early background to his current fame. So, how did his journey and love of music start? What inspired his love for music? Let's find out. Terrence LeVar Thornton, better known by his stage name Pusha T, was born on May 13, 1977, in the Bronx borough of New York City. His family soon relocated to Virginia Beach, Virginia, where he and his brother Gene Thornton grew up. Growing up, he and his brother were both selling drugs. However, when the parents found out, his brother Gene was kicked out of their house. In the early 90s, Pusha's older brother Gene was going by the name Malice and was working with Pharrell Williams, who was also from Virginia Beach, as early as 1992. This was a time when Pusha T was in high school. Did you know it was actually Pharrell Williams who gave them the idea of becoming a duo in 1992? This led him and his brother beginning to pursue a career in hip-hop, forming a group known as Clipse. In the mid-90s, Pharrell helped the duo secure a record deal with Elektra Records. With the record company, the brothers could produce and release music under the name Clipse. The first Clipse album was entirely produced by the Neptunes. Pusha used the word terror and his name Terrence as he and his brother Malice began to build the villainous personas. This still defines Pusha's work today. However, it was a rough ride as the first single, The Funeral, didn't sell. They didn't have the opportunity to release since their contracts were terminated. This meant their record was never released and went down the drain. This was a big blow to the two brothers. However, in 2001, Pharrell came to their rescue. He signed them to his Star Trek label. Both brothers worked on the debut album, which was called Lord Willin', which was produced again by the Neptunes. Lord Willin' ended up becoming a hit when it was released on August 20, 2002. Lord Willin' immediately jumped #4 on the Billboard chart, and the album sold 122,000 copies in its first week. Lord Willin' was ranked as one of the best debut albums of all time by Rolling Stone, and was certified gold by the Recording Industry Association of America, RIAA, on October 1st, 2022. In late 2003, Clipse began recording material for their second album. The album was released 3 years later due to delaying and problems with the Jive label. Their next Clipse album, Hell Hath No Fury, was considered one of the best hip-hop albums of the 2000s. However, it didn't sell as it only peaked at number 14 on the chart. The album was an underrated masterpiece. Sadly, the past came back to haunt them as they had another major label issue. This time, the major problem was their label merged with Jive, leading to the Clipse being forced onto Jive. Jive was a much more pop-focused label for artists such as Justin Timberlake. The label wasn't the choice fit for Clipse, and it didn't take long for Malice and Pusha to feel overlooked. After a few years, they decided to get out of the label. This was after they revealed it all in an interview with iWeekly on May 19, 2007. On October 26, 2007, the duo signed with Columbia Records. 2 years later, they dropped a record, Till the Casket Drops, which was released on December 8, 2009, via Columbia Records. In a departure from the group's previous work, which only featured production from the Neptunes, the album featured production from Sean Diddy Combs' production team, The Hitmen, and DJ Khaled, among others. The albums did not fare as well commercially as the first two albums, peaking at 41 on the Billboard 200. In 2010, Malice started to feel a certain way about the music they were making. He had an interest in Christianity and pursued a better moral code for his life. He was not proud of the message they were putting on TV worldwide. In an interview with Vlad TV a few years ago, he spoke about when he and Push were teenagers and how their parents were strict with them. They further added that the money from selling drugs wasn't for meeting ends, but for buying nice clothes and shoes. It came from a place of vanity, not struggle, he added. Malice also described how he and Push were intellectual from a young age. In the 6 years of selling drugs, Pusha T said that he had never tried cocaine, and he thinks of smoking marijuana as corny. He and his brother Malice never faced legal problems on drug-related offenses, even though they were famous for rapping about drug hustling. After the third album, Malice changed his name to No Malice, as he didn't want to promote violence and chaos. And with that decision, Clipse broke up. Shortly after this, Pusha T was signed to Kanye West's Good Music label in September 2010, while his brother quit the music industry forever. Pusha had to work hard, and questions would rise if his solo career would thrive or just be known as the guy from Clipse. In his first solo career, he dropped one of the most infamous guest features ever on a Kanye album from the centerpiece, Runaway, from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. If anyone had doubts about Pusha T's solo career, the verse contained an answer. Pusha T was just getting started. Fear of God 2 was also a Pusha project. The mixtape Fear of God included My God, and it featured both freestyle and original songs. The mixtape was well received, and he began working on his debut extended play, Fear of God 2, which had 4 songs. Deadlines were pushed, and it was released on November 8, 2011, having 12 tracks in total. Pusha received criticism as they wrote he was out of place in Kanye's label. This came as a surprise, as he currently has one of the most interesting sounds of any rapper out there. After Pusha T releases My God, the first single from his solo mixtape, his former Good Music label mate Consequence took over Twitter and claimed Pusha T stole his flow and lyrics from a son of his. On July 2011, Consequence released a song called The Plagiarist Society, which intended to attack and question Pusha's coke-dealing raps. Consequence released a song called The Plagiarist Society, which intended to attack and question Pusha's coke-dealing raps. Pusha T responded to the diss track when he made an appearance on Chicago's 107.5 WGCI's The Main Riot. Pusha said that no one was looking for consequences. He went all the way and said, "At the end of the day, I am an artist, and this whole rap thing is fun to me. So I can't say you won't hear nothing, but to go back and forth with him, it's not right. I won't get anything out of it." The beef continued as Consequence released the song titled Everybody Told Me To, where he dissed West, Pusha T, and Good Music in general. However, on September 15, 2011, Consequence walked, stating that his feud with Kanye West and Good Music was over. In October, Pusha T appeared and confirmed the beef was indeed over. In 2011, Pusha T appeared in the second season of How to Make It in America. In the series, he played the role of a henchman for the Urban Caribbean League. However, Pusha T's main focus was music, and after the release of his EP, Pusha T started working on his solo debut album, which would be produced by Kanye West. Pusha T also said after the release of his debut albums and the Re-Up Gang mixtape, Long Live the Kane, Clipse would reunite and release another album. In 2012, the lead single Mercy was featured from the Good Music compilation. The song was produced by in-house producer Lifted. The song featured Pusha T, Kanye West, Big Sean, and 2 Chainz. Pusha T released the song Exodus 23:1, which was referred to as a diss track aimed at Drake and Lil Wayne. This resulted in a diss track from Lil Wayne, which Pusha T described as horrible. Pusha T went on to release My Name Is My Name, which debuted on the Billboard chart and sold 100,000 copies in under 3 weeks. The song was a very cinematic and luxurious anthem with dark and cold instrumentals. One can understand if someone said this was their all-time favorite Pusha T project. The song was very cinematic on a luxurious album with dark and cold instrumentals. One can understand if someone said this was their all-time favorite Pusha T project. Darkest Before Dawn was Pusha T's next record, and even though it ended up with the lowest chart performance of any solo album at number 20, the record had the most interesting sounds of anything he had made so far. Pusha was a fan of beef, as earlier we said he had a beef with Consequence and Lil Wayne. However, this beef was one of the most shocking rap beef he had, and it was with Drake. It all began when Drake was still a newcomer in rap and Lil Wayne was his mentor. Drake got caught in the crossfire in the track Exodus, which as earlier said it aimed at Drake and Lil Wayne. Drake didn't take it lightly as he dissed him back on the intro track to Nothing Was the Same, where he called Pusha T a bench player, acting like a starter. They continued to diss each other for a few years, with all accusing each other of having fake artist personas. However, the beef didn't heat up until 2018, when Pusha T officially fired some serious shots at Drake by accusing him of using someone to write his songs. This was a serious allegation against Drake, and Drake had to respond. Drake responded the same day when he released a full diss track aimed at Pusha T and Kanye, with one of the harshest and most personal insults. The diss was brutal. The diss track was name-dropping Pusha's wife, claiming Kanye was a snake, saying he wrote music for Kanye. He continued when he said that Pusha wasn't a drug dealer and called Pusha T a loser for having Kanye as a mentor, while he was older than Kanye. That stings, and probably many would say that Drake won from that point. However, nothing could prepare Drake for what was to happen. Pusha had been waiting for the right moment to hit a Uno reverse card on Drake. This diss destroyed Drake and forever stained his reputation. Pusha had found that secretly Drake had a son he had never acknowledged in public. Among other dozens of brutal insults about his family, his identity, his artistry, and his race, including cover art that is depicted in blackface, Pusha revealed to the world that Drake was a deadbeat dad. Drake never responded to the diss, as most people knew that Pusha destroyed Drake. Drake later confessed how Pusha humiliated him in a way he can't even respond. And when Drake thought it was over, Pusha continued to diss him over the years. His battle with Drake almost overshadowed the masterpiece of an album that Pusha had released. Daytona was considered one of the best albums of 2018, and this sealed Pusha T's position as a great artist. Produced by Kanye, the album was nominated for Best Rap Album at the Grammys, being named in the top 10 Best Albums of the Year by publications such as Rolling Stone, Complex, and Billboard. On April 6, Pusha T released the third single for It's Almost Dry, Neck and Wrist, featuring the rapper Jay-Z and Pharrell. He would later appear in an interview with Charlemagne the God, which was released on the 11th. On the 18th, Pusha T announced the release date of It's Almost Dry to be in April 2022. The long-awaited album, primarily produced by frequent collaborators Pharrell and Ye, was released on April 22nd to widespread critical acclaim. On May 7, 2022, it debuted at the top of the Billboard 200 with a total of 55,000 album equivalent units, making it Pusha T's first #1 album on the chart. All we can say is it was deserved. Today's video comes to an end, and we thank you for sticking around. So, what was more surprising from the above reveal? How do you evaluate Pusha T's career? Remember to hit the like and don't forget the subscribe button on your